welcome to episode 26 of Attention Engineer. I'm Laura Kidd, a music producer, songwriter and solo artist making music as Penfriend. You can find me around the internet at Penfriend Rocks. In a noisy online world, the gift of someone's attention is priceless. So thank you for joining me on my mission to inspire creativity in every listener through having the conversations I've always hoped for with some of the artists I admire the most. Hi there, how's it going? I'm fine, thank you. Wrapped up nice and warm and sitting in the launch pad with a big mug of tea. Wherever you are in the world today, thanks for tuning into the show. Regular listeners over the past few months will have heard me mention an exciting new collaboration project I've been working on for a while, and last Friday, all was revealed. Obey Robots is me and Rat, the guitarist from Ned's Atomic Dustbin, and our first single is a decidedly non-Christmassy song called Let It Snow. We decided to celebrate release day by having a chat about the series of random events and coincidences that led to the birth of the collaboration. Plus, I got to be very nosy about what it was like to be one of the more subversive bands appearing on Top of the Pops in the early 90s. I first heard of Ned's Atomic Dustbin on a mixtape I was given as a teenager. I was immediately hooked, so you can imagine how surprised and delighted I was to get an email from Miles Hunt asking me if I'd be interested in writing songs with Rat. Ned's Atomic Dustbin are an English rock band formed in Stourbridge, West Midlands, in November 1987. Formed at Sixth Form College, the band recorded their first album while some of the members were still teenagers. From these humble beginnings, the band went on to sign to Sony Music, and their debut album Godfodder shot to number 4 in the UK Albums Chart in 1991. They released 3 albums and travelled the world, plus played Top of the Pops twice before disbanding in 1995. In 2008, Ned's reformed for a show at the Astoria in London, and since then have been playing regular reunion shows with The Wonder Stuff and Pop Will Eat Itself. In 2019, they released a 14-track album called Ned's Acoustic Dustbin, and in 2021 they will be performing in London and Stourbridge to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Ingredients EP. Here we go. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Happy release day.
A happy release day to you as well.
Thank you. I'm okay. How are you? How are you feeling?
Very excited, very tired.
Yeah.
Felt like Christmas last night, waiting for the announcement today. But I'm so proud of the song, and
Yeah, me too.
I think it's just absolutely fantastic.
It's funny because I've released 2 singles this year and I love the songs that I make. I'm very proud of them, but I didn't feel like this because it's just me. So when someone else is involved, it's obviously going to be, just there's someone else getting excited too. That's really nice. I think my excitement maybe is more within me about my own music when no one else is, not my own music, but about the music, my solo music, you know?
Yeah, totally. There was an acoustic album me and John and I did with Milo.
Yeah.
And I was excited at the release of that, but nowhere near how as excited as I was this morning. It's as if the Ned album was kind of like a safety blanket.
Right.
And there's other people around at the time, sort of thing, when it was released. And it was still great and happy to be released and exciting, but this has just been something completely different.
So for me, it's completely different because I haven't collaborated with anyone and released a song for, it's got to be more than 10 years. And I hadn't really thought about that. Like I know that if I think about it, but I hadn't thought about it. So I didn't know. I just had no sort of expectation of what it would feel like to be putting music out with someone else. Why is it so exciting for you? Like, how long has it been since a new thing has come out that you've been involved in?
Well, that was just it. I've never collaborated with anybody else. I've only ever done the Ned thing. So you're the first one.
I'm so honoured. That's great.
And it took a few decades for me to write a song.
Yeah.
But I've always been writing in the period in between, just never knowing what to do with it. But this is the first time I've collaborated with anybody.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For me, it's a really long time. And this is much more of a a collaboration where I'm really putting myself into it. Whereas before it was very much within the context of someone else's existing thing.
Yeah.
So I co-wrote an album with a band called the Young Punks, and that had already been going. I think that may have been the third album. It's at least the second album. And it was very much Hal Ritson wanted me to come in and help him finish stuff. And of course I put myself into it, but he had a very specific view of what his thing was, which is fair enough. You know, sometimes that's what collaboration is. But this was just like, yeah, you sent me a load of like really brilliant guitar things that made me start hearing melodies straight away. Like Miles got in touch with me. I'll say Miles Hunt, if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about. Miles Hunt got in touch with me when I was in Singapore doing some kind of teaching, production, writing, workshopy stuff with some young people. And I remember downloading all of the stuff that you then sent me and listening to it over and over and over and over and over again on the aeroplane on the way home. Oh, no, not even home. Where did I go? Oh, no, I was going to America. So I went to America after Singapore. So I had this incredibly horrible journey. And I was mostly listening to you.
No.
Which made it better. Made it a lot better. And so that was really great because there's such a blank canvas for me to do my thing because you'd done your thing. It felt like there was a lot of space.
Yeah, so I'd never suggest to anybody what I'd want them to do. I like to hear what someone thinks themselves when something comes back, which is why I was blown away with some of the stuff that we've been coming back with.
Yeah, thank you. But it's scary because I remember I quizzed you quite a lot at the beginning, like what kind of thing, because I think it's because of my experience of collaborating with people who were they just really wanted someone to come and be a missing piece that they could already imagine. And that's one kind of collaborating. I'm not massively into it, hence why I haven't done it since, for so long. But I remember going, do you want it to be this style? Do you want it to be really acoustic? What are the parameters? So I could work within those. And you just kept going, no, do what you like. And that's kind of wonderful, but also can be terrifying because then I had to really think, well, what do I want to do?
Well, the one thing you didn't want to do, and I remember this clearly, is I don't want it to be folk.
I say that about every aspect of what I do. And I want to clarify for any folk fans, I really like some folk music. It's not that I dislike folk music, it's just that it's not what I want to make. I think people who make it must really want to make music that sounds like that, and I don't. And it's because I think of folk as being a very, very skillful thing.
It's tremendously skillful, yeah.
Like real mastery of your instrument, and there's a whole tradition to it that you at least need to know about, even if you're going to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't have the interest in that, in terms of like being in that world and making that music. So I am always rock. I think of myself as rock, indie rock, whatever, songwriter. Not even like singer-songwriter. That makes me think of, ugh. It just makes me, I don't know, it fills me with ennui. Just kind of like, ugh, singer-songwriter. For some reason, it just doesn't give enough of what I am, that those two words, to me. Of course, people say things as a compliment, and that's fine. And people are singer-songwriters, and they're proud to be. I just don't want to be any of those things. I forgot, though, it is very like me to initially just go, I hope you know I can't do anything that is folk.
Yeah.
There will be no folk here, Yeah. Or as we were discussing before we press record, opera, also not my thing.
Exactly. I'll put the hurdy-gurdy away.
Please, yeah. There will be no cajons anywhere near this place. It's just not my thing. It's not for me. That's all.
No, and I agree. And I think that's why it's really good. And it's like I said before, it's so good to hear what you come back with without me actually saying, I'd like it to sound something like this or this or this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you truly appreciate how bad my bass playing is as well. I was thinking about this last night, and I think I can congratulate myself that I was in key.
Right.
But it wasn't very good with anything that I was doing with that key.
Well, why should you have to be good at that too? That doesn't,
Yeah, true.
Why should you have to be able to do all of it? So for context for people listening, Rat sent me a lot of really great guitar things, and I started cutting them up to make songs, basically. I suppose initially what I did was like sing over it a lot, try and get some vocal melodies that I liked, and then cut things up and move them around to make them into like a structure. So verse, bridge, chorus, whatever. I don't even know what the structure is of that song. I can't remember. But, you know, in that way. And then it's a case of like writing more parts or whatever. But hadn't you already programmed drums for that song, for Let It Snow?
Yes, I had. Yes.
Right. And that's good because it just gives you a starting point. And the thing is, my point about the bass, that, you know, you're slagging off your own bass playing, the point is not that you have to be able to do it all so perfectly or at like studio level in the demo. It's just to give a starting point for a song to actually become a song, because otherwise maybe it's just, you know, it'll only ever just be a bit of guitar you played into your phone or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So for me, when I'm producing a track or when I'm even, you know, writing something from scratch, I might spend a bit of time trying to find a particular sound that inspires me to do the next thing. So to put the next layer on. And so if, you know, those programmed drums helped to do that, you know, to lift it to a certain place. No offense, I can't remember what the bass was that you put on it, because I just remember writing back to you going, please can I do the bass?
Exactly,
I love doing the bass. But it wasn't a judgment on your bass part. I just was like, I'd really love to play bass in this project. That's all it was, you know, there's nothing more than that.
Oh, you're more than welcome to play bass on this project, trust me.
It's my thing. It's my thing. I love to get to play bass. I mean, I've been a bassist for a really, really long time. So I love it. And I think it's all come together well.
I think it adds to the dimension, because if I play the bass, all I'm going to do is mirror what the guitar's doing. I'll never think of anything like runs or different notes, and that's kind of just like the old one finger playing on the root note as it goes along. So with your bass playing, obviously, it just lifts the song completely.
Well, what I was trying to do was, because we talked about how you like your guitars to sound quite bassy, or you said they often sound quite bassy. So I thought that gives me the opportunity to just play some higher notes, because sometimes you want to play low notes on the bass to give it that bottom end. And sometimes it's fun to sort of go between the different instruments in that way. So that's what I was trying to do with that. And also with the synth stuff, I felt that there needed to be some other sounds coming in, because it already sounded great with just the bass, the drums, the guitar and the vocals. But it's really nice to have just a little something else for the ear, for the listener. And also in a different sonic space, so a different kind of timbre of sound, and also in a different pitch. So everything was quite low, and then there's little bits that it's just having contrary motion in a arrangement of music is really interesting. So that's what I was doing with that. But also very much leaving space for the guitar and building up that tension to the very tastefully short but very exciting guitar solo wang fest. I don't know what you'd call it. What do you call it? Solo? It's not solo, is it? But it's like it's your pinnacle. It's the pinnacle of the song, really. And so, it's fun to play lots of different melodies and parts over everything in a song, but then you have to kind of remove enough stuff so that the key moments are as big as they can be, you know. And often moments are bigger when you take stuff out. So in that part, it's only guitar and bass and drums, obviously. But, you know, there's no synths, there's no vocals, because you don't need that, because that's not what's happening then, if you see what I mean. That's what I was thinking anyway.
No, but that's totally true. I mean, over the years, I've seen so many things where people end up with 30 or 40 tracks of all sorts going on.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't need all this in there. You've got to have some space. You've got to allow the song, it's as cheesy as it sounds, to breathe.
Oh, no, I don't think that's cheesy at all. I'm always thinking about breathing.
Yeah,
space,
from start to finish as it goes along. Particularly like with the way I play guitar, it's constant all the way through.
Yeah.
It's good to have the lifts and shifts in there.
And your guitar playing is so interesting to me, because I don't play like that. I don't know what you're doing, and that's what I like. So when you just sent me stuff, I really enjoyed it when you sent me the multi-tracks, because I could listen and still go, yep, no idea.
No, I've got no idea either.
But it's the layering of it that creates this wonderful. I mean, someone who's a musicologist could probably explain this incredibly well, and I may or may not understand. But it just does something, and that's the thing. When you sent stuff to me originally, I was just like, for some reason, there's something about this that makes melody writing on top of it seem really easy and natural, which is really fun. So, well done.
No, it's really weird. Like, I've never had a lesson in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those. When I was a young wee nipper a few years ago, not that many. I'd often just be sat in the bedroom playing a guitar and playing along.
Yeah.
And just playing along to records how I thought they were being played.
Right, yes.
And inventing what I thought was my own chords to make it come true. And it's just been all the way through for the years. That's just how I've been playing guitar. And when you go back to what we did with the Neds, with two bass players, my style kind of cultivated during that, trying to find spare notes or places to play.
Well, yeah, but you need to find the space, don't you? Because a lot of it's taken, isn't it?
It is, exactly. And one's doing one melody, then the bass line. Well, the guitar can't always follow everything else. And that's kind of just how I've grown with guitar playing, is just to play it. That's the only way I play it now.
So interesting, yeah. I've listened to Ned's a lot, but I haven't kind of analysed what is that bassist doing and what's that bassist doing. Was someone ever doing chords, or was it all just different notes?
No, so Alex was always doing sort of chords at the top end, or when he got into delay pedals on the bass, there were like keyboard lines over the top.
Yeah.
With Matt playing the traditional root bottom end notes. But then if you've got the bottom end and the top end full, in comes the guitar. So, well, what do I do? Where do I fit in? And you just sort of, for some reason, it just worked.
Yeah.
I don't know how it worked, why it worked, but it just did. And what all five of us did together, I couldn't do as one person on my own, if that makes sense. Of
course. Yeah.
Because I couldn't write all the five individual parts that we all did.
Yeah. The best bands are always bigger than the sum of their parts, aren't they? You know, the five people together create something that could never exist without those particular five people.
Totally. And I think we all know that. It's the five of us had the chemistry or whatever at the time that enabled us to write those songs in the way that we did. But we didn't. The same as I'm writing songs now, I don't write songs or riffs for anybody. I write them predominantly for me.
Yeah.
And if I like them, then I'll share them as it goes along. But I've never actually sat down and thought, right, I need to write a song at this tempo with this speed, and it needs to be in this key.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what key any of the songs are in anyway.
Same here.
And the rest of the lads will tell you the tempo. All I ever say is, can we play it faster? Which is quite surprised when I got the email back from you saying, can I speed it up? That was yes, of course you can.
I always record everything super slow. It'll feel like the right speed when I'm recording an idea into my computer. And then I realise I have to put it up by at least 10 BPM, which is quite a lot faster. That happens to me all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, for the record, you're the first person, and if the rest of the Neds are listening to this, they'll laugh. You're the first person that's ever told me to speed up. Everybody else tells me to slow down.
Do they also tell you to turn the volume down?
Yeah, there's that too.
Guitarists always want to be louder. That was what was so funny when we were doing the mixing. So Dan Austin mixed this track, who I've worked with for a long time now. And your only note was, can we please turn the guitar up at the beginning? And I was like, a guitarist who wants to be louder? How strange. I've never heard this before in my life. But no, you were right, so it's fine.
Well, there's a couple of things, but you'd covered most of them off with your vocals, because I was going to highlight the one thing about the higher harmony vocal. I could barely hear it.
Yes.
And I just thought the guitar at the beginning would be nice, be a bit louder. But what I had to do with this, which was good, was I went away and played the song relentlessly so I could unhear me and hear the song as a whole.
Right, okay.
And then step away and say, well, actually, yeah, as a mix, as a song, that's great. Instead of going, well, I want me louder all the way through, but I want everything else turned down.
Yeah, which often happens when there's a whole band in a studio with a mix engineer and everyone's like, oh, I can't hear me at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, can I? And then the mix engineer is like turning everything up, just going, come on, give me some space.
Exactly.
Let me do my job.
And the way I see it is my ears are shot after all these years. I will leave it to someone who knows what they're listening to. But when you're writing the songs, you only hear your part.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's the bit that when you do hear a mix, everyone wants to hear their part louder, but actually it isn't. You should hear the thing as a whole.
Yeah.
Step away and say, yeah, that's it. The song's great.
Yeah. And I need to do that as well when I get mixes back. Just listen to them enough times that I can actually hear it. Yeah, like you're saying, as a piece of music.
Mm.
There's something really beautiful about the fact that we will never hear the music that we make in the same way that a listener will hear it who hasn't been involved in the making of the song. Because they just hear it as, oh yeah, there you go. That's what it sounds like. It's this. And it can obviously be, it will be different to every person. They'll get a different feeling off it or, interpret it differently. But they'll hear it in a way we cannot ever hear it. And I'm a little bit jealous of them in that way.
Exactly. And whether you like them or not, I was watching a documentary with Pink Floyd, and they were talking about the Dark Side of the Moon. And I think one of the answers that some of the band came up with was the one thing they never got to do was hear the album like a fan for the first time.
Yeah.
Because they'd been so close to it for 2 years in the studio, they never got the full massive experience that obviously have jettisoned the album for many, many, many millions of sales.
Yes. Yeah, and I just finished a record, as you know. I sent it to you recently, and
it's great.
Thank you very much. I really like it. I'm really proud of it. But it's one of those things. Again, I recorded every note of that in this room. It's been being mixed as we went along, like in different chunks. So there really hasn't been enough time for me to go away from it and then come back to it and listen. But then when it was finished, like the whole mix of all of the songs was finished and then it was mastered, I tried to do a sort of, now I am sitting down to listen to the album from start to finish in the right order. And now I'm going to have a wonderful feeling of satisfaction and like this epiphany of, yeah, I've done this brilliant thing. And I listened and went, yeah, I still really like it. But it's just, there's this sort of an anticlimax just because I haven't had time to not listen to it and then listen to it again. And then now I have to listen to it loads of other times for like vinyl mastering, checking the vinyl mastering, checking all the different formats. So what I'm hoping to do over Christmas is just not listen to it at all. And then maybe like 1st of January or something, I'll have a listening party just for one.
Yeah.
I can enjoy it more again, It's really hard to stand back from something. So anyway, yeah. So it's been really nice to have this to do as well. And I love the fact that we turned it around so quickly in the end, like the recording of it, because there's just no real reason to sort of labour over certain decisions, I feel like. And I love the fact that we both seem to be making decisions just for fun, like the name and stuff, and the just going, do you like this? Yes or no? Yes or no? Done. And then it's like, you pick the colour. Do you like the colour? Yes. Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that kind of labouring thing and over analysing and over discussing and things like that.
No.
And the solo that I did on this song was the first one I did because I couldn't think of anything else to do. And when I started getting the mixes back, I tried to think of different things. I just went, no, this is going too far now. I'm going to go back with the first thing I ever did.
I would not have let you change that. I would have put my foot down. Are you kidding me? So if you'd come back and gone, I've got something else, I would have gone, I do not want to hear it. That's perfect. Last week we were texting about how, because songs just get really stuck in your head when you're working on them, especially if they're as brilliant as this one. So like just before bed, I'd have your do 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 do. It's stuck in my brain, just that bit over and over again. It's so good. There's no changing that now.
The weird thing that you say that was the thing that was stuck in my head was the keyboard.
Thank you.
I couldn't, because when I first heard it with the keyboard, I was like, okay, I get this, I get where we're going. And I went to bed and I was sleeping or trying to sleep and thinking about the song, and all I could hear was the keyboard that brought the melody out. And now I can't hear it at all without the keyboard. It just sounds wrong. I
thought you might not like those synths, and that would have been fine. Like that would have been, I could have tried some other things if you didn't like them. But I was wondering if that was going to be a thing where you.
No, I do like. You have to be careful because I've got a Korg M1 somewhere in this house, and I might have to get that out.
I can also see a silver disc on your wall behind you. Is that just for my benefit?
Oh no! I've put 2 up.
What are they for again?
The one's for Godfodder.
Yeah.
And the other one's for Billboard #1 college track.
Amazing.
For Not Sleeping Around.
How many sales or whatever is it for a silver one?
60,000.
That's pretty great, isn't it?
Mm.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about your discs?
I like them. I don't hide them away. I don't ponder or yonder back to those days of yore, thinking, oh, my life has been dreadful since it's all gone wrong. It was such a small time frame in everything I've done in my life with my current employment, whatever. I look back fondly on the times, what we did for the 5 of us that came out of a rehearsal room in Stourbridge, which was essentially, we called it the fridge because it was an old butcher's that we had rehearsed in. And in fact, the Wonder Stuff used it as well.
Yeah.
To go and do that was just a fantastic experience that I wouldn't change for the world. And when I think back to it, there's nothing I'd change. I don't want to change anything. It is as it is.
Yeah. To put it into context, for anyone who's listening who's not aware of Ned's Atomic Dustbin, how would you sum that up, if you could? Or like, how would you sort of introduce yourself as part of that to someone who doesn't know about that band?
5 chaps who got extremely lucky and ended up travelling around the world between 89 and 94. I think it was all over by 95. And there's the mad things that you ended up doing. All those things you think as a punk, I'm not going to do this. And then there you are, stood on top of the pops going, yeah, I've done it, haven't I?
But it's easy, isn't it, to be a punk and say, I wouldn't do that if you haven't been offered the thing.
Yes, it is. It is. But when you're sat there in the waiting room before you go on to do your bit on top of the pops, and you've got Roxette on the one side and Hale and Pace doing the stonk on the other side, it's quite a bizarre experience.
Yeah, of course. That's kind of what's so brilliant about Top of the Pops. I am sad that we don't have it anymore, because it was based on, your audience turning up for you and buying your records, and so you might get on Top of the Pops between Hale and Pace and whoever else.
Roxette and Take That was one with us. Yeah, it is. And it's kind of a validation that sort of the TV media people sort of thing are opening up to other ideas of having you on the show.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it was great to do, but it's just bizarre to think about it.
Well, it's wonderfully subversive to have bands like Ned's on Top of the Pops.
Yeah, there's a period that they had that had us on there, Census Things, and loads of other bands of that ilk all suddenly started charting around the same time.
It just shows how powerful, music buyers are.
Well, totally.
Because if you really love something and you show up for that thing, it has an effect. Like, and in those days of Top of the Pops, very much that could be the effect of it. It's kind of amazing.
Yes, absolutely. It is. It is. Yeah, but like I say, absolutely no regrets from that time. But it's so long ago in my life timeline.
Yeah.
That whilst I'm proud of it, I'm very proud of the stuff we're doing now.
I think it's nice to stay creative, personally.
So the one thing I've always had through my life, through ups, downs, happy times, sad times, all the different emotions you have, is I've always had a guitar by my side. And I've never not had one near me. And I can just happily just disappear into a room with a guitar and just not emerge for ages. And I could be playing anything, copying someone else, just twiddling. But I've always found having the ability to play guitar a comfort. It's something nice to go and do.
Do you find it to be quite meditative?
I do. I generally do. I find it quite calming, and it's a way of just shutting off everything. And particularly this year, with what everybody's going through, it's been an absolute godsend.
I think I was saying to you the other day, it's so great to be able to keep making music and releasing music in this time. And that's why I'm really grateful for people like Dan Austin, who will, remotely mix for me. Katie Tavini did the mastering for us, like, really quickly. Like, I think I sent it to her on Wednesday. I was like, we're going to put this out on Friday. And she's like, okay. And just the sort of the structure that's there, the fact that Bandcamp exists, the fact that, I can use Photoshop, that we could do everything in-house and to a really high standard and then give things to people. Because essentially for me, releasing music is about giving people the thing. Yeah. I just want them to have this thing. This is the way I see the year. I've wanted to hurry along the year. I wanted to get in a time machine and go forward to a time when everything's okay again and I can see my family and all of that stuff. So it's very much a sort of always cathartic kind of lyric writing for me. But knowing that I'm not the only person feeling this way.
Yes.
And sometimes I think music can be that thing that sums up what you were thinking without you having to actually put it into the words yourself. And the feedback I'm getting today, because we're recording this on Friday, which is our release day, is that people are so overjoyed to have this piece of music, and that is the thing that makes music exciting to me. I don't have a silver disc, and I don't think I ever will, but I love that people will tell me that the music I'm involved with means something to them. Genuinely, that is amazing.
And that means more to me as well.
Yeah.
Than any of that sort of stuff. So if we go and do reunion shows at the moment, talking to fans who's just telling what they mean, and when some of them are bringing their kids, that's just great as well to say what they did in their youth. Of course, they all get very, very drunk, and it gets very, very messy in the mosh pit. And good luck to them for lasting the full hour. Trust me, I couldn't do that. But it's great to see that, and it's great that some of the feedback you get from them is it just reminds them of a happier, innocent time when they didn't have mortgage, they didn't have kids, jobs, career, all the weight of life on top of them, and it's just one night of escape to take them back to when they were 18 again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I remember seeing people. Miles has been on this podcast already, and we were talking about when I was playing bass for Erica Knuckles' band, who was supporting. Obviously, Erica's in the Wonder Stuff too, and we were supporting the Wonder Stuff on this tour. And I just got to see the Wonder Stuff fans just, losing themselves in this music that means so much to them and means so much to me as well. And to be surrounded by people who love this thing and support the people on the stage, it's a really incredibly beautiful thing. And so, yeah, really looking forward to times when we can do that again,
Oh, totally. I mean, I'm missing going to live gigs massively. I'm playing them, of course, but I'm a bit of a gig junkie. I have to admit to that one.
It was lovely when you popped up at my Birmingham gig, but just over a year ago.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah.
It's annoying that there were two very annoying people at the front who were friends of the promoter, who just kept taking the piss out of everything I said. To a room full of people who'd come to celebrate the final She Makes War gig in Birmingham. So that was a tedious gig for me.
They're lucky I wasn't stood by them, put it that way.
Yeah, well, next time please do stand by me so you can knock someone's block off if needed, because that is so irritating. Because the thing that winds me up about that, it's not about my ego at all. It's about the fact that I know that people have paid money to come and stand in that room to listen to songs that they like, that I play. And I'm incredibly fortunate that they've heard those songs and come into that room, and I love that. I love them for that. And then when it's ruined by people who've never, have no interest in what's happening on the stage, it's a very strange feeling. It's like I feel incredibly angry and frustrated, but it's very hard to express that. And there's no real sort of acerbic put down I could give to two strangers that would even work, other than sort of stopping and going, get them out of here. I just don't know what I could have done anyway. Yeah. But I'm glad you were there. I did keep thinking, oh, fuck. Rat's here and this is happening. This is really annoying.
It didn't affect the show. The show was fantastic, so I'd really enjoyed it anyway.
Okay, maybe I'll enjoy the next Birmingham gig too. Birmingham's always great, by the way. It's nothing to do with Birmingham. It's just that night was bad.
But one of the things you said there is quite interesting, because it was something that Tank, the old Ned manager, absolutely drummed into us. And it was like, don't care what you do, what you get up to, showtime, you're on the money, because those people have paid money that they've earned. It could be their one night out this year, this month, this whatever. You're only here because they're there.
Yeah.
And it was very much keeping us all on the ground through all of everything we went through, saying, like, showtime, money, you're on it, go for it. Why be tired if you're not on form? Don't care if you feel ill, don't care if you're feeling off colour. It's not their problem. And so yeah, it's kind of the same ethos that's come through with this.
Yeah. I'm kind of amazed and really pleased that you had that person there, because I don't think that most bands in the 90s were getting such good counsel from someone, because there's a lot of arrogance that goes into, I mean, arrogance often hides fear, doesn't it? So a lot of arrogance, masquerade, or sort of, fear masquerading as arrogance on stages, and then sort of feeling, I don't know if people really feel like they deserve to be up there and the people should be grateful who have come to see them or not. But you get that sense from some bands.
You do, totally. And I go and watch bands and I get that feeling off the stage as well, that, you should be grateful you're here watching. And that's not how it should be.
No.
You are actually only there because of the people that are buying your music, listening to your music, liking your music, hopefully.
Yeah.
And without them, you're nothing. And I think where we came from as well is kind of like that. the Black Country is a self-depreciating area.
Yeah.
Where if anyone ever did get too big for the boots, the mockery they'd get, it wasn't really worth it being stuck in a van. So it's just best to just calm your boots. Just remember what you are and where you are.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a sort of some self-belief that's needed to be able to get on a stage. And Mark Chadwick talked about that very eloquently in his episode of this series, actually. Because you have to believe that you deserve to be on the stage to get up there and perform. But there's a line between, that and believing your hype and believing every compliment you get that's like, you're amazing. I mean, I remember people started saying that word to me a good few years ago. And it's lovely to get a compliment. And I remember thinking, because my urge is to go, no, I'm not. That's how my mind works, right? It's not like, oh, good, finally someone's realised I'm amazing. It's quite the opposite. But I had to just go, look, Laura Kid, in my own brain. If someone tells you you're shit, you don't believe that, do you? So if someone tells you you're amazing, you also don't believe that. I'm just me. I'm just doing my thing. If people get something from it, that's wonderful. And if they give me a compliment, I will just say thank you. But it doesn't mean I'm going to believe I'm amazing and then become a dickhead. So that's good. Good to know about yourself.
If you ever stood backstage with the Neds before we were about to go on, you'd see 5 blokes stood there going, I'm not going on first. Who's on first? Well, I'm not on first. I had to go on first last night. You're going on first this night. I don't want to. And all the excuses come out going, I can't get past the guitar tech if I go on first. I've got to go on after the guitar. Yeah. And when people say there's loads of energy at our gigs, it literally is 5 blokes running on pure adrenaline going, oh shit, and just look down, go for it. And most shows, it's not until you're about halfway through you start calming down, and then by the time you start really enjoying it, it's over. And you're back afterwards going, oh, survived.
Do you ever have those moments where you suddenly are in your body and you're like, oh, if I stop moving my hand, then this song won't sound very good, when you're playing the guitar. If I stop doing this and just stand here, what would happen? Is that just me?
There's moments like that, but there's also moments where I'm sat there because I'm quite loud on stage anyway. So I'm kind of in my own little cocoon. And then I'll have these moments of thoughts going, oh my God, this is going out the big speakers as well, isn't it? Oh, no, don't make a mess. Don't make a mess. And it's that kind of moment of, oh God. But then the good thing is afterwards, we all really do take the mickey out of each other for any mistakes that happen. We treat the whole thing as fun. If one screws up, it's just laugh at him. And I've learnt long, if I screw up, just look at a bass player and the bass player will look down. And I'll think,
my trick as a bass player was always to look at the drummer if I did something wrong.
I literally just stare at Alex, the Ned bass player, and he just literally looks down at his bass to think it is him. And I just carry on going, that's got me out of it.
Nothing like camaraderie in a band.
Exactly.
Rat and I have a lot more to talk about, but first, would you like to hear our song? Catch you after this.
Shall we fight, fight, fight? I haven't seen my mother, but I found
Now, back to my conversation with Rat. What's it been like doing the reunion shows? Because do you normally do those every year now?
We did start doing them every year from about 2007. We did some different ones that came across. And then the idea came around to do a thing called Love from Stourbridge, which was a tour celebrating the Wonder Stuff, Populate itself, and the Neds, and go out. And the first Love from Stourbridge was us and the Wonder Stuff with Graham Crabb DJing, flip-flopping each night. And it was something great to go and do. It's the first time we've been on proper tour for a long, long while. And it's amazing how you slip back into the ethos of, right, I'm going back to sleep at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yes.
The bed's outside. And those were just fantastic. And I think the fans of that sort of ilk were appreciative of that happening and going out. And then the year afterwards, it was us and Populate itself. And Milo came along and did some acoustic stuff, and him and Erica were DJing. And it was a really good, fun time, because one of the things that people don't see about those bands is the crew. We all know each other. We're all from the same place, and everybody knows everybody. So it is kind of like one big friendly family just traveling around. No attitude, no grief, no ego, no. Yeah, we go and do them.
That sounds so good.
It is. And then kind of, and I've got to tell this story because it's a good story, and it's a good story of how we met.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go on.
So it's for the first Love from Stourbridge, and Miles came up with this idea to do acoustic numbers, just to promote it on Facebook Live, whatever. So I had a go, and I think we'd got Grace L. Green and another song, To Be Right, that John and I just practiced relentlessly, and then went to a house in Shropshire and recorded it, and it went out, and it went down better than we thought it would. And then Miles dropped the hint and says, well, if you want to do an album, I'll do it for you. And I'm not quite sure what happened. There was like a long delay, and then we did the 100 Club with Miles, and he sat down and says, so you're going to do this album or what? And I was like, okay, I'll be there in January. So off I went, and John came and did his vocals, I did mine, and then I recorded a load of other songs afterwards. I just opened up the mics and just let it go. And then we started swapping music between each other. And unfortunately, some of it was jazz. I have to admit to that. But jazz in a good way. So if anyone's listening...
There's some great jazz.
Well, if anyone's listening, you really do need to check out a guy called Barrett Martin, who's done some fantastic albums, experimental albums, but he was also the drummer in a band called the Screaming Trees.
Yeah.
And to see what he's done to come to where he is now is just absolutely fantastic. So we started talking about what should I do with those songs, and I said I've always fancied working with a female singer, blah blah blah, and he was like, what sort of style do you like? And we were flicking back and forward, just emailing each other. And I came across a song by the Ting Tings. I think it's one of the last singles they wrote. And I said, oh, this is really good. And by the way, I found this on the side of the YouTube thing, and it was Your Good Self.
Me?
It was Your Good Self next to the Ting Tings, and I just sent them to Miles saying, this is fantastic, check out this artist.
So funny.
And Miles comes back and goes, Laura, I know Laura. And it's like there's a kind of a flip-flop between the two. And he just said, do you want me to ask her? And I went, yeah, go on then, try.
That's so funny.
And that's how it happened.
But did you have any idea that I would have been someone who listened to Ned's Atomic Dustbin as a teenager, though?
No, I had this absolute idea that it would come back going, who?
Right.
No, I've got my own thing doing. I had no idea at all of the history or whatever until obviously we do now know.
Yes.
But yeah, no idea at all.
I love stuff like that. I love random stuff like that. Because Miles and I met in 2011. I was singing backing vocals for Karina Round at the Hare and Hounds.
Oh, okay. Because
I am a massive fan of her music. When I lived in London, I went to all of her London gigs. And then my flatmate, this is such a, really all these random occurrences things. It's a good story. So my flatmate was doing front of house sound for Karina at a gig, and I was like, I've got to come with you because it'd be nice to actually say hello because I just love her music so much, and I was very nervous and weird about it, but it was fine. And she's awesome, and we just got chatting a bit. And then when I was in LA playing bass for Tricky in 2008, I sent her a MySpace message inviting her to the show, not thinking she'd even ever reply. I just thought this is a good moment to try and like not impress her as such, but just, say, I've got guest lists to sing if you want. I don't know anyone else in LA. So I invited her along and she came. And then the next day we hung out like all day and just had a really nice time. And so that led on to me then singing for her at this thing in 2011.
Oh,
For
wow.
2 shows. Yeah. And Miles came along to the Birmingham gig to sing a duet with her that they'd written years before. And I'm a gigantic Wonder Stuff fan. and he was just sitting in the dressing room going through the song with Karina, and I was sitting across from them on the sofa going, pinch myself. 2 of my favourite songwriters. And I'm in the room and I'm going to be on the stage. This is amazing. And so after that gig, I was very nervous too, but I thought this is one of those moments in life where I could either give Miles my album or not give Miles my album. And what I did in the end was give Erica my album. and she played it all the way back to Shropshire in the car. And then Miles got in touch and he was like, I love your song Slow Puncture. So it's a very long way round. But also with the Neds thing, when I was a teenager and we were trading mixtapes at school, I was introduced to the Wonder Stuff, Ned's Atomic Dustbin, Pop Will Eat Itself, EMF, along with a load of other like American bands, Beck and whoever, like loads of different bands. And so I've been listening to Ned's since then.
Oh.
So it's funny. So when Miles got in touch, I was just like, really? Back from Ned's Atomic Dustbin? And as I said, I was in Singapore doing this job, this like few days of teaching music production stuff. And I remember I'd made friends with some of the other people who were doing the different workshops. And I was just like, oh my God, look, I just got this message. And people were like, cool. They don't know Ned's Atomic Dustbin. But I think they thought, because I was so excited, oh, it must be really good. So that's nice. Yeah. So that was great. Yeah. And then your guitar bits got me through some horrible flights.
Yeah, if I remember right, you had a really bad time, didn't you?
It was dreadful flights. And then, here we are. Got a song out.
At last, it's great, isn't it?
It's great. And I love the song. And there's something, it seems a little easier to say that when it's something I've worked on with someone else. So I'm not going, I am great, listen to my song. I'm just going, I'm excited that I've made this thing with someone else that couldn't have existed if either of us wasn't involved in it. I couldn't have done that on my own. You wouldn't have done that on your own. No one else would have done it.
No, absolutely. It would have just stayed on my hard drive as just, that was what it was, something that I just done. Yeah.
And for me, especially having had all of these conversations on this podcast, collaboration is something that's been in my mind for a long while. It's something I've been a bit afraid of because of not bad experiences, but experiences where I didn't feel I got to give the best of myself necessarily. Or be kind of not in control, because I don't want to be in control, but just having any control, like having equal control in a creative project is something I'm very keen on, because I can add a lot to it, if I'm allowed to have equal input. Whereas if it's just like, we want you to do this tiny bit here, but it needs to be in this style or this other thing. It just feels like, well, why? Just get a robot to do it. Get someone else.
We all obey robots.
That's the main thing. Now.
No, the main thing is just free reign from whatever I send as I hover over the mouse button, clicking, do I send this one? Do I not send this one? Do I send this one?
How
do I not send this one?
Never worry. Just send the things.
Let me play it again. And then send it across. And then it is completely free reign.
Yeah. The only problem we have is that you send me so many things. Like, oh my God, they're all really good. And I have to try and pick. So remember, I kept emailing you going, can you just pick your favourites? What are your top 3? Because I've got 15 now, and it's a lot.
Oh, it's gone up a lot more now.
Yeah, I'm really frightened of the next batch of emails I get from you. But I mean, that's the right way around, isn't it?
It's a good thing. It's
really good.
And for me, it's definitely a really interesting way of doing this. Never done it this way before. And it's only been the last year that I've obviously set myself up to be able to record at home and do that. And Yeah. It's a very steep learning curve, but I'm absolutely loving being on it.
You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Because we would let you know. So I sent your, so you, for people who are listening who are just like, this is getting too nerdy. I work with a drummer called Max Sidey, who is based somewhere near London, and he does remote drumming sessions. And so he's done the two Penfriend singles that have been out this year and 4 songs on the new album. And he's great because if you have no idea what you want, you could just say, oh, can you come up with some ideas for this? But I am really specific about what I want. So quite often I program every single beat for my solo music, at least, and just go, can you make this sound like a human, and obviously improve it, put some cool fills in here, and do some silly stuff here, and I'm quite specific, and he's really good with that as well, which is wonderful. He's very good at his job. But then there have been a couple of songs where I've just gone and just sort of do what you think here, and we'll go back and forth and decide if it works, kind of thing. And then with this one, because I was just like, I was saying about how you have to kind of think what you want to bring to a project and then make sure it does that thing. So I knew I wanted to play the bass in this, for instance. So and so I politely asked you if that was okay. But also one of the things in my head for this was like, if I was in Queens of the Stone Age, what would that sound like? Or if I got to sing some Wonder Stuff songs even, what would that sound like? There's a little bit of that, I think. Whatever gets you to the point where you create something, it doesn't really have to sound like that to anyone afterwards, does it? But that's kind of what's in my head when I'm working on this stuff. And I just sent Max 2 Queens of the Stone Age songs, Regular John and Avon. And I said, basically, between the 2 of those, that's the drums for this. Cool. Obviously, he doesn't just copy it. But it's just to give someone the sense of like what you're going for. So that was really good. And then I record the bass in my room here, and I record the vocals in my room here, and I record the synths in my room here, and you record your guitars in your room. And you did do a great job, because when I sent them to Dan, our mix engineer, he would have said, oh, we need to redo these, or this isn't right, or something. And everything was great. So you've done a great job. And the thing is, I've only been recording myself in this room for about 1.5 years. Obviously, I recorded my demos, but I just been recording knowing it's going to be on an album, or know it's going to be sent to a mix person. I've only been doing that for 1.5 years. And it's funny because I've recorded so many other things in people's studios, not necessarily posh ones, sometimes posh ones, sometimes, someone's room at home or whatever. And there are a lot of people who want you to think that you can't press record, and you can't put a microphone in the right distance from your amp, and you can't play in time, and you can't whatever, so that they can do it for you. And I don't think that's bad, because I'm not saying that people shouldn't be, producers and engineers and stuff. That there's a lot more you can learn to do that really, really, really well. And if you do that job well done, there's a lot more to it potentially. But you can also, as a musician who knows what what you want something to sound like, you can put a microphone in the right place. You can learn to a certain level pretty quickly and easily. And then I just record all of my stuff here to a level that is good, and it sounds how I want. And then I send it to someone who is incredibly talented and well trained, Dan, to make this thing sound huge. So it's not about thinking you can do better than everybody and just like turning out a heap of shit. Just having that power, taking that power back a little bit. But for you, with Ned's, with all of those albums recorded in like the big studio with all the people there, and
unfortunately, yeah.
Why unfortunately? Oh yeah, because it's expensive. Yeah.
Cost a fortune back in the day.
But it's fun to do things that way if you can. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. What was the mad one that we did? Real World.
Oh wow, yeah.
Peter Gabriel thing where the actual sound desk is sunk, so the lip of the window is the lake.
Yes, I've been in that room. Dan used to mix in a room, right? That there's Real World. It's in Box was it in Wiltshire?
Yeah.
This is incredible. Yeah, Peter Gabriel's incredible studio that you can hire, and it's probably quite expensive. And fair enough, it's an incredible space. And then you walk over this little bridge to all these kind of, it's not sheds, but it's like, I don't know, like a load of buildings on the other side where people can hire different rooms to do mixing in. And so Dan was using someone's room there. So I got to put that my album was mixed at Real World Studios, but it was.
Yes.
The address is Real World Studios, but it wasn't in the big room, anyway. Yeah, that must have been fun. Aren't there swans on that lake as well?
There are as well. And
why not?
I found out very early on, if you miss Real World and keep going, the next building you hit is Greenpeace.
Oh, wow.
There's a massive, huge corrugated. It's big, and you walk in, and they look at you, and they don't even wait for you to say anything. They just go, "Yeah, it's back there on the left." Oh, okay, right. Yeah, you're used to this then.
You clearly look like a band then as well.
Smelt like a band, more like. Yeah. So that was one of the good ones, and there's many others.
How did you find recording? Some people get really terrified, especially when you know that money's being spent and it's, time is money and everyone's watching you and stuff. How did that feel?
Didn't really feel like that. The worst thing about me recording is fear of the click track.
Right.
Where I can sit in a studio and I can know my part, I know what I'm going to do. The minute the click starts, I always fall to pieces. And then there's always that thing of a bum note that I can't hear, or I'm playing it wrong and then I can't get it out of my head. And then you start sitting there looking at this producer going, I can play guitar. Just give me a minute, I'll have another cigarette. And you just feel so out of your depth in some of these big studios when it first kicks off, that you just want to go, oh God, why am I here?
Yeah.
But as is proving now, no offense to those big studios as nice as they are, you don't need to go to them.
No, you really don't. I was a bit wary. We were writing stuff to we're writing a bunch of stuff to explain about the project and the collaboration and the song and stuff yesterday. And I was just thinking, I don't want to push the thing about it being like remotely recorded at home, because I'd like people to listen and then be surprised it was remotely recorded at home, if you see what I mean. Because I think, and I hope, that the music that I make out of this room for whichever projects it's for sounds like something that is of a high quality that why wouldn't have been recorded in a posh studio? Because that's what I'm aiming for.
But when I listen to the latest Penfriend album, no idea, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't know it was recorded in your room at all.
Yeah. And that's what I'm going for. And there's again, there's no offense to anyone who's doing any kind of recording and releasing music during lockdown from home that isn't aiming for that. That's fine. Like, and to be creative at all this year is an amazing achievement. If I was going to make a lo-fi album, that's fine, but I'm not making lo-fi albums at the moment. And it's really wonderful to be able to do that, but from home, especially obviously with the situation we're in. And I do think sometimes you get a better performance. I mean, certainly I know I give a better vocal performance if no one's in the room. And so I've actually recorded the vocals for the last two She Makes War albums. I recorded all the vocals at home and, edited them myself and then had them mixed. But I had recorded the music in studios. And then it's only the last year and a half I've been doing everything here. And I'm doing it better because if I want to, I could record 5,000 takes of a guitar part. I try not to because that's a real waste of time, but I could do if I wanted, and I can let the part grow and develop and then not feel too on the spot. But if someone's sitting there pressing record, however lovely they are and however patient they are, for me it's just a totally different experience of like, oh, I'm making someone wait now while I work this bit out.
Totally, yeah.
And that's just on me, really. It's not the engineer's fault. There's some really great people to work with.
No, I totally agree with that you are thinking I'm wasting his time here. Oh, dear.
Yeah. The inside of my brain is a really weird place when I'm sitting next to a person who I'm sort of paying to do something and I feel like I'm holding them up, and I don't know, it's just awful. Because I have that same thing that you had. I'm just kind of, I don't say it out loud, but I'm thinking, they think I'm shit. They think these songs are shit. They're only here because I'm paying them. Maybe they think I'm not paying them enough. Maybe they hate me. I think they hate me. And that goes on for like 2 weeks in my brain, round and round and round, which is ridiculous. So I don't do that to myself.
It's funny when you talk about the recording thing. I was chatting to some younger people about the good old days of how to record backwards guitars, and that was literally take the tapes off, turn them over, and then record, turn the tapes over the other way. And they're like, well, what happens if you don't want a bit or change the tape? I said, well, a guy will sit there with a razor blade.
Yeah.
And he will physically cut the tape back and forward of where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And they'll look at me like you're alien going, huh? Because we just press a button now and it goes backwards. Yeah. I'm like, the art of the studio, that's something different.
Well, there's something really beautiful about that, but it's just something else. If those things are accessible to someone because they can afford it or or they can do it themselves in that way or whatever, then great. That's great, isn't it? I think for me, home recording's always been about going, well, I wouldn't be able to make music if I couldn't do it in an affordable way. Therefore, I love the fact that technology enables me to do that.
And I 100% agree. Technology enables us to do this together with a very inexpensive setup.
Yeah, really. And really high quality.
Yeah.
And I do want people to know how we recorded it, because I want them to know that they can do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to know everything in the world to press record on a computer and put your idea down. You really don't.
I know about 1/100th of the software I'm using.
Oh, same. Yeah. Same.
I can get the input in, I can now record it, and I can get the click track sorted, and that's it. Yeah. All the automation and all that sort of stuff. I just don't even look at it. Don't even want to.
Same here. I can do mixes, like basic mixes that sound fine for demos, even for release. I've released things I've mixed myself, but I don't go too deeply into it. I think you have to get a good recording signal and it not be clipping, and play the thing in time and in tune as much as you want it to be in time and in tune. And then you can find people to make things sound, really great at the end, or you can just be happy that you made something. There's a great book actually called, I think it's called Gorilla Home Recording. Obviously it's nothing to do with monkeys. It's the other Gorilla Home Recording. And I read that a few years ago. That was really good. It's really accessible because it just explains all that stuff. The point is to get a good performance that you capture, in a way that is not unpleasant, and then figure it out from there. That's it. And also, for people who would never dream of going to a studio, for people who don't think they're a musician, for people who would be scared to be in a room with someone who knows more than them because they might feel that they're not able to not know stuff and admit it, that kind of stuff. I think home recording is incredible for all of those people. Yeah, and you really don't have to sit and learn everything about Logic to press record on Logic or whatever DAW you want to use. But there are also some really inexpensive courses you can do. So, if you want to do it, just do it. I'm that annoying person because people will say things to me like, "Oh, I wish I could record a song one day." And I'm just like, "We'll do it then. Here you go. Here's a link to a book you can read. Here's cheap microphone, cheap thing, cheap audio interface. Done. Send me your song when it's done."
Yeah, exactly.
I just give people homework all the time, basically. So no, you did a really good job. Is that the first time you've recorded guitars for use in a song that will be released?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well done. Brilliant. How has the internet impacted your music making career?
In terms of what we can do ourselves now is incomparable to what we could do 20, 30 years ago. With the advent of things like with Bandcamp, social media, sharing songs and getting it out to people that without having to have a whole press team behind you, without having an old record company engine behind you, and the fact that you can actually do it all yourself. So when we first started, there's the whole punk ethos of, well, actually for £100 you can get 100 singles made up, stick them in a brown paper bag and flog them.
Yeah.
But anything more than that to spread word, no one would ever hear about you. With the advent of the internet, you've got a much wider reach of stuff you can do yourself.
Yeah.
The downside of the internet is the streaming services. And how do I put this politely?
You don't have to be polite.
Their cost model and what they pay artists is shocking. And I understand why people kind of like that, to say, well, I pay £10 a month and I get 3 million, 4 million free tunes. But the artist isn't getting any money at all about that. And unfortunately, without money, and I'm not talking about gazillions of money here, you do need to self-fund and have some income to be able to do what you do, to pay engineers to do what you do, to pay for the things to be printed out. Yeah,
because those are all fixed costs. That's the thing.
Definitely.
The printing company won't accept anything less than what it costs them to do that job for you.
Yeah.
So we can't. Yeah, there's no negotiation on stuff.
But one of the things is, when we had this conversation with the rest of the Neds as we were talking, if the internet was around back then, would we still have happened? And one of the things that we were always put down as was a great live act. You've got to go and see them, and word of mouth, you must go and see them live.
Yeah.
If social media existed today, someone, and I do, honestly, anyone that's listening, please put your mobile phone down at any gig you go to. Please just stop it. It would take someone just to film a show, put up on social media going, oh, well, that's what they look like live.
Yes.
And then you'd have lost that element of it, that element of surprise as to what's actually going to happen. When I walk into this room for the first time, I've heard all these rumours. What's it going to be like?
Yeah. Yeah. It's too easy to see stuff and go. And also, don't you think that if someone's seen a video of a band, not only is that mystique or mystery gone, of you can never imagine what it would be like, because they can imagine they've seen it. Also, don't you think they'll also be like, well, I've seen it, I don't need to go now, even though they might have only seen a little clip. I was always worried about that. If you show too much of that experience that only really works in that live context, like a clip filmed on a terrible phone with a terrible microphone, that's not the best representation of the experience of that gig. I understand why people want to film things they're at, because for them, because humans love collecting things. That's why we love taking pictures. We love sharing our thoughts and things with other people. It's because we want to have that connection and we want to collect things. That's just part of our psychology. But masking it in a kind of, oh, I'm helping the band by telling people how great they are because I love them. So the intention is really good.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't translate. So, but I think people watching that, they're not getting the feeling that the person had who filmed it, who loved the band, who want to share it. Not at all. So I've always been really anti that, because it takes the magic away. It just sounds and looks terrible. And it's an obstruction, isn't it? Because the people, and it's not like there's 2 or 3 people doing it. I had a Zoom call the other night. I don't do Zoom calls very often, but we did a Zoom call with my correspondence club. We had 25 people show up, and we were just talking about, what's been going on this year and stuff about my new record and what have you, what people are missing and what they're looking forward to when hopefully this vaccine comes and we can start doing things again. And there was this man there who, I remember him from coming to my She Makes War gigs in like 2010, and he took really nice live photos. I asked him if he was still doing his live photography, and he said not so much, obviously not this year, but not so much because everyone's taking pictures all the time. And it's kind of like, I guess he just thinks also because it's a big proper DSLR camera, he didn't want to be another obstruction for the bands, I guess. Because 10 years ago, you'd have 2 or 3 people taking really nice pictures. And now you have everyone almost feeling like they have to take the pictures, I think. Or taking a picture for their own, memories, that's, again, like I understand all that. That's a really nice thing, actually. But it becomes this thing where you look out at a bunch of screens, not a bunch of eyes.
Yeah.
And you play to many more people than me when you do your shows. And you mentioned put your phone away. So how do you feel about that then? How do you feel about people using those?
Again, I don't mind photos. From there's 2 sides of it. From being a fan of watching bands, standing at the back like I do, by the sound man, because that's obviously where the best sound is. There's a hint to everybody. Trying to watch the band when someone's got their phone up in front of you is just really annoying as a fan. From the stage point of view, you just want people to enjoy the moment. Just live that moment. Don't stand there and just watch it through a phone. Enjoy yourself. I still have vivid memories. My first gig that I ever went to was 1985, I think, and it was Spirit of Destiny, World Service Tour, Birmingham Odeon, and I still remember absolutely everything about that night. I remember where I stood, where I sat. I remember all the songs. I remember the smell.
Yeah.
And I don't miss the fact that I didn't have a camera there at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to let things like wash over us and go in almost, like to register it.
I mean, it's like you say, it's nice that someone wants to take photos of you or wants to take a video. But you just want them just to enjoy it and just, have fun.
Yeah. And it is a really hard thing to talk about. I'm aware it can come across wrong from artists.
If I have come across wrong, I kind of apologise.
Oh, I don't mean you. No, I mean me.
Yeah. But I think the worst one was, when my friend Dan went up to Manchester, went to a fantastic venue called the Albert Hall. And went to see a band called Ride. And we were stood at the back, and when they started playing Vapor Trail, the guy in front of us picked up an iPad and started filming, and we just cracked up. We're just like, oh no, this has just gone so far now. Stop it.
Yeah. And please, I did not mean you. I meant me.
No.
I meant me because it's hard to sort of voice an opinion on this without it sounding like you're telling people what they should and shouldn't do, what they should or shouldn't do at a gig. Because going to gigs is about freedom and experiencing things and having this escapist moment. You don't want someone going, put your phone away. You can't do this. You can't do that. So I understand all that. I totally get it. But it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to connect with people in a room. It's really, really hard to do that when they won't look at me with their eyes. That's really hard. And it's not selfish. Like I say, it's not about, I'm not an arrogant person going, you should all be looking at me. But if you've gone to the gig, though, don't you want to both see and hear the music that is being played? Because if you didn't want to look at it, you could probably just listen to it at home. And if you didn't want to listen to it, you could just stay in the bar.
Yeah.
Because I cannot fathom it. And Miles is so good at dealing with this stuff. And we talked about this as well in the podcast about people talking and people getting really wasted and being really grabby. And I think we just all have to be a bit more aware that we're all part of a temporary community at that gig. And we can all just look out for each other and really be there. That's what I really hope for. And I've been joking with my husband Tim about, when we're able to do gigs again, what's it going to be like? Are people going to be so excited to be out of the gig that it'll be even louder from the audience? Maybe we have to have a few, do a tour, which is the talking tour, which is I'm just going to stand here and you can just have a chat. And I'll just, read a book, or maybe we'll all talk. I'll talk to you, you talk to each other and get really drunk and stuff. And then maybe next time I'll play some songs because you need to calm down first. I don't know.
I do think if this ebbs or gets put under control, I think any gigs that happen, the first gigs, are going to be absolutely mental.
Yeah.
I think people are just going to have the time of their lives to any ticket they've brought, and it's just going to be a mad, it's back, here we go.
Yeah, and do you know what, listeners and music fans, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Because this has been terrible. It's been terrible in so many ways. And of course, we have to think of ourselves individually, of ourselves and our place in all of these things. And personally, I can make music in this room. I can do online gigs and I can connect with my community in lots of different ways. So I have been fine with the fact that I haven't been on tour relentlessly. That's okay. But I'm not so selfish as not to understand that there's a lot of people who need to have those community moments, weekly, if not nightly. They need to go and see live music to feel all these things they want to feel. And I'm so sorry that you haven't been able to do that all year. And as soon as I'm able to, and it's totally, totally safe, I will play because I know that people need that, Whereas I could happily just make a load of weird music here and probably never go out again.
No, and second to me, to anyone that is listening, I mean, we as the Neds, we had 4 shows this year, and they got put back a year. Well, someone said they're being put back to 2021, and I said when? He went, a year. I went, yeah, I know, a year, 2021, but when? He went, no, it's been put back 1 year.
Yeah.
And that was just heart going, oh my God, 12 months to wait. Oh. Yeah. And then we had to do the horrible announcement on Facebook saying, sorry, folks, completely out of our hands.
People totally understand, though, It's not. We all have to do what we can, and I'm really grateful to the people who work in live music who are trying to keep these things going as a sort of thing to hope for the future. We were talking about setting up a short tour to celebrate the release of the Penfriend album, which is going to come out maybe March, maybe April, but obviously waiting. So we were going to maybe do something for next September, but we're just holding off because I think it's really good to make a bid for hope for the future. So by putting gigs on sale, it would be going, I hope that we can do this, and I'd love to spend time with you, audience people. But equally, I don't want to do that and then have to keep moving things. So I'm biding my time at the moment.
No, I totally get that. That's completely, understandable.
Yeah, we have to make sure it's okay first. It's way more important.
Absolutely, for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And until then, Just keep making music and sharing it. That's fun.
Yes, I think that's what we'll keep doing.
Yeah, 100%.
As I look at my screen that's got a hard drive folder called Laura.
Oh, God.
Little did she know how
I haven't seen this folder yet.
big
Uh-oh.
this folder is.
Do you know what? I don't even know if I've lost my ideas folder. I had this horrible, horrible, massive folder on my computer with all these different ideas, like scraps of stuff from phone memos and stuff. And then my computer crashed a few weeks ago, and I had to like put everything back on it new. And I don't know if I ever backed that folder up. In a way, I kind of hope I didn't, because then I just have to start from scratch. But I also wonder if like the best song I'm ever going to write's on there, and then I might have lost it. We'll see.
When you told me about that by email, that you'd had a massive crash, the first thing I did was reach for an external hard drive and back up my stuff. I just went,
good.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's why I tweeted about it, actually, for that specific reason. Just to be like, don't be silly like me. By the way, I had backed everything up, but I was recording my album and I needed more space on a hard drive, so I deleted the backup thinking I'm going to back it up again later. But I forgot. So I went and had my lunch instead. So do not be like me. But it's okay. I didn't lose the album. That's the most important thing. Just to wrap up our lovely conversation, which 3 pieces of your own work would you recommend as a gateway for new listeners? I suppose I'm talking about Ned's Atomic Dustbin for the most part. Although, hint, hint, there's a song out today that you could maybe mention.
So definitely the song that's out today. No, seriously, I am so proud of the song that's come out today. Let It Snow is just fantastic. I've been playing it relentlessly and I'm over the moon. So please listen to it.
Yes.
The gateway into Ned's, I suppose, the 2 main standout ones, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, are Graceful Green and Killy Television, which will give you an idea. But then I have to tag on something else there, that if you listen to the albums afterwards, Are You Normal, then Brain Blood Volume, you can kind of see how the band was growing.
Any more? What are your favourite Ned songs? That's a different question, isn't it?
Oh, my favourite ones. One that we try and play live, but we always have, it's either hit or miss when it works, is Who Goes First, which is off Are You Normal. And I just love the lyrics on that, and I love the song. Playing live songs. Actually, there's a weird one here. So playing live songs, obviously I love playing Grace or Green, Killy TV. Happy, not so much. Which is a weird one since it's supposed to be the biggest hit. But it's one that you get to in the set list and you're like, okay, here we go. And that's not degrading the song. It's just, personal things. I think a lot of it is the fact, the amount of times that we've heard those songs.
Yes.
Then we rehearse them, we play them night after night. And the one thing we do is when we do the things, we rehearse quite a lot. We don't just turn up on the night with unprepared and say, like, oh yeah, just thanks for the money, we're just going to play a few songs and go off. We put so much effort into it beforehand.
Yeah. As you were taught by your manager as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it all goes back to that thing that he taught us from the same thing. Everyone that's in front of you, and particularly more so now in one respect, is it could be the one night out in 6 months when they can get a babysitter that isn't cheap.
Yeah.
And just think of things like that. And that's what goes through your head before we walk out on stage.
Yeah, we've got to respect people's time, people's money, people's energy, and their enthusiasm. There are so many things you could be doing that aren't listening to this podcast or listening to the music or coming to the gig. And you've chosen to do those things. That makes you a freaking VIP in my book. Yeah,
and it does feel good. I wish we could play everywhere, because I think every band has this. When they announce tour dates, the first thing is, why aren't you playing there? And well, we have thought about playing there, but we can't because of whatever reason, whatever. We'd love to go and play everywhere, but you just can't do that.
No.
And one of these days, I'm going to reply and say, well, you're not playing my hometown either. When are you going to play my hometown so I can go home after the gig? But we try and make it as flexible as possible. But it just feasibly, it's a shame, but yeah.
Yeah. Can't be everywhere all at the same time.
No.
Doing everything all at once. This is something I've had to very gradually teach myself, by the way. I'm an over-ambitious person when it comes to time. But yeah. What are your fondest memories from your time at the top of the pops with Neds?
I think the period through Godfodder and just through iNormal are the fondest times when it's, as a band, it was rising. The fact that we started off playing clubs, I think the Godfodder tour in total was 2.5, 3 years from start to finish. And that was constant.
That's so long.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Well done.
There's a lot of work, and it also took a lot of strain on the relationships between each other.
Yeah.
But the fondest memories for me are just standing in Australia, looking out, going, what the hell am I doing here? Going to Japan and me being a video game nerd, just in absolutely awe of being in a country. I'd never imagined going to those places.
Yeah.
So my fondest memory of that is the amount of travelling that we did, as tiresome as it was, but what I saw, I am so grateful for.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the band, I would never have seen any of that.
Yeah.
So I'll always be grateful for that.
Did you get to meet any musical heroes?
Oh, so yeah. So I met Keith Richards, who signed my book and spelt my name wrong. He spelt rat wrong. That was quite good.
How did he spell rat wrong? How did he spell it then?
RAET. And then he crossed it out. Then he was on tour with the expensive. Was it Keith Richards and the Expensive Winos was his band?
Right.
Who was doing. And it was actually at Prince's Club in Minneapolis, the 7th Street entry.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that night quite well for another reason, but I'll tell you in a second. And anyway, he was in the upstairs bar, and some girl came in the dressing room from the record company, and the lady says, "Do you want to meet Keith Richards?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course, go on." And she went, No, he's upstairs. He says he'll say hello. So we did. And me and John went to speak to him, and that was quite cool. And the reason I remember that night more as well is because it was actually the day that Guns N' Roses released Use Revolution 1 and 2.
Okay.
And anyone that knows where the 7th Street entry was, or 34th was the smaller one, I can't remember which way around it was. There's a record store over the road. And of course, they released it at midnight and opened at midnight, and our tour bus is parked outside. We're walking past this crowd of people waiting for Guns N' Roses tickets, loading out into the back of a truck, which was quite an entertaining moment.
Brilliant.
But I've got many memories. And I tend to rely on the good memories, not the bad. When we first reunited, the first thing I think Matt said was, "You can forget it if you think I'm going to be touring America on the back of a llama again." That was kind of the way it goes. And people keep saying, "Why don't you come to this country, come to that country, come to this, do this?" And so we'd love to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try and explain without sounding arrogant the expense of doing that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And the way, particularly with America, went with visas and the cost and the price hikes, it just became, wow, eye-watering before you get there. Yeah,
it's like $3,000 per person to get an American visa, something like that. Plus, you need to pay a lawyer to get it in the first place, don't you? And it's like, it's obscene. It's really hard.
Exactly. And so for 5 band and some of the crew that would take with us, it's not us saying that it's not viable, but we didn't make money out of Ned's, and that's the God's honest truth. Ned's kind of funded itself with the t-shirt sales. All that got put back into the band as a cyclic thing. So it's not like we can fly to America and say thank you. Yeah. Because we haven't got the money to go there ourselves to say thank you.
Yeah. I like asking these questions and talking about this stuff because I think it's useful for the audience to understand that stuff. It's not like you've decided not to bother going to play New York because you don't care about your fans in New York. It's that it's incredibly hard to get everyone there because of all the expense and the pressure to sell the tickets to pay for it. And it's a lot, isn't it? And the sort of the work to put that together. And it's not that you don't want to bother, like I say. But it's also lovely that the audience just assume, oh, this band I love must be doing so well from this project. Probably don't have to ever work again. Probably just sit around and like enjoy, I don't know, the riches of pop or top of the pop stardom or what have you. But the reality is different. But it doesn't mean that you're not a successful band. It just means that it's incredibly expensive and difficult to do things. And it is lovely when the audience think this band I love must be this because I rate them so highly. I think that's what people are saying, really, isn't it? They're going, we love Neds, we want them to play here.
Yeah.
Why can't they?
and I wish we could.
Yeah.
But I think something I said about earlier is about fans seeing it as a welcome relief, as a night off from life.
Yeah.
The 5 of us get that as well.
Yeah.
On stage. It's a relief away from our lives as well. So we're doing it as much for us in that way as for you that we're playing for.
Yeah, of course. But so what gigs are on sale for Neds at the moment, or are they all sold out?
We've got 4 next year because this year was, oh my God, I hate saying this, the 30th anniversary of our first EP.
Wow.
The Ingredients EP. And we've got 2 shows at London Dingwalls and 2 shows at Stourbridge Town Hall. The London Dingwalls are because we played there on the week that we released the Ingredients EP and we did our first TV interview outside. So that's kind of where that tie-in comes. And Stourbridge, it's because we played there in the very, very, very beginning. And I guess it's kind of our ancestral home, whereas Wolverhampton is our spiritual home, is the way I'd put it. So Stourbridge Town Hall is something that we just thought would be great just to go and do.
Yeah. Well, if there are tickets left, I'll put links to those tickets. So if anyone needs to get hold of some tickets for those, to believe in the future where there are gigs where Ned's Atomic Dustbin play, you can get hold of those.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can do. And I think they're with Crosstown.
Oh, good. They're the best promoters.
We started.
My husband works for Crosstown.
They are.
Anyone who's listening.
Yeah.
They're the very best.
They are. They did the acoustic shows for us this year, and they were brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So, my God, that's a distant memory. Acoustic shows. When was that? January.
It's been a year, hasn't it?
And I took a photo of myself and put it onto Facebook that I'll share with you again, of me stood outside a window. Because when we played this place in Manchester, the Night and Day Cafe, it was Chinese New Year. And it's the year of the rat.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I posted, the year of the rat, isn't it? Thinking it was going to be a great year for me. Then all of a sudden, March appeared.
And now we know who to blame.
Me.
Damn it. Well, it's okay because we fixed it with this song.
We have fixed it, definitely.
And the song is about skipping to the end. Skip to the end. Let's just call it a day. This year's not working for anyone. Let's just move on. Let it go. Let it go.
Just let it go. It's over. It's done. But also make as many notes if you can of how many things that have happened, like who won what football tournament, who won what Grand Prix race, all sorts of things like that. Because in 20 years' time, there'll be pub quiz questions. You'll be sat in the pub quiz and they'll say, in the great year of COVID of 2020, which horse... So just a future tip.
Brilliant.
You are now living in the year of pub quiz.
So it's like the reverse almanac from Back to the Future.
Exactly, the reverse almanac.
Or knowing historical facts, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is what that would be called.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Right, well, I think it's time for us to go and see how many people have bought our vinyl 7 inches now. So thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, thank you, Laura, and thank you so much for this collaboration. It just means so much to me, and I look forward to the rest of the songs as well.
We're going to do more very soon.
Definitely.
All right, I'll let you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Bye.
Bye. I'd love to tempt you over to my website now, where you'll find links to grab your free /paywhatyouvant/can download of Let It Snow, pre-order our limited edition pink 7-inch vinyl and CD double A-side singles, and watch some great Neds videos. Head on over to penfriend.rocks/rat for all of those fun things. Big love and thanks to my correspondence club. We're coming up on 7 months of this beautiful community being in existence, and I'm so thankful to every single member for helping to power the making of new music and keeping this 100% independently produced podcast ad-free. You're the best! Membership is open to all, and there are free and paid tiers available, with free music for everyone. Just visit penfriend.rocks to find out more. If you enjoyed listening today, please click subscribe. There are lots of really interesting conversations for you to catch up on, plus next week's episode is a conversation with the wonderfully warm, clever and very, very funny Robin Ince. Do not miss. Lots of love to you wherever you are. Thanks for listening and speak soon.